every movement is rhythm, you know, and some of the movement connects the dots and creates cohesion, and other movement creates a sound.
Right.
So you're not always creating that sound in the movement aspect, or the importance of the movement isn't just to create the sound. It's also to create that glue that connects all the dots and all the limbs so they're working in harmony. And there's a lot of stuff that you can pay attention to that really solidifies the harmonious movement amongst the four limbs, because again, it's not all about the attack in connecting those dots, if that makes sense. Do you follow what I'm trying to say?
I do, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's something to pay attention to, and then it becomes a marking, you know, and or a gauge a lot of times. You know, if I'm playing straight eighths here, and then I want to change this up, where it becomes a little more sloppy, but it's still eighth notes, versus just playing straight eighths, where it stands it up a little more. Those are things that I can, in the way I, you know, if I'm playing straight eighths, I'm doing it more in a dot dash kind of way, where I'm coming down, you know, where if I want to swing it, then I'm starting to go more of a brush strokey kind of application. And again, because the way I swing out, or how far I swing out, creates the separation of the next attack, basically. So the tighter you are on to your hi-hat, again, the next note becomes has to travel less, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have the legato-ness of stretching something out, and in doing so, it can either make it swing, it can imply, you know, some kind of sloppiness to it, and all these little nuances that we have in the way we attack a note, and then and where we place that note, you know. And I often will describe it as you know, every note has a circle of time around it, and as that circle revolves around that note, as it comes, the front and the back end of that revolution, or that circle, if you will, has to do with your tempo marking. You know, where, you know, if you're playing in front of the note, if you're playing behind it, you know, if you're playing in front of it, you're kind of pushing things along, and it changes the way something feels. And then the bottom and the top of that circle is more of a dynamic relationship of how you're going to attack that note and play that note. And again, that changes the feel of something. So those four parameters, front, back, top, and bottom, are tremendous tools that you have, and variables that you can work within, that gives you a certain wiggle room, if you will, where you're still playing the note, and there's still, you know, it's still representing that mark of where it should be placed, but you're kind of, you know, fudging it or manipulating it to a certain degree. And you want to be aware of those four parameters, because they're tremendous assets to how something is going to feel. You know, dynamics, for one, is like, you know, you can't dispute the importance of playing with dynamics. But tempo also can change the way something feels. And, you know, it's like playing in perfect time. Well, for me, perfect time is when everyone's playing together. Not so much in a metronomic sense, because that becomes, a metronome is basically a flat line of time. You know, it doesn't move, it just stays there, you know. So for me, that's kind of boring. But if you're playing within that margin and using that as a point of reference, or a home base, and then you have the ability to play in front of it sometimes, play a little behind it, well, then you start to get that graph, the feel, or that ebb and flow of how something moves. And to me, that's far more natural. It's more organic. It's more real in the sense of how we exist. Our movement is not perfect.
My friend that I play with that I talked to you about, Mark is his name, and sometimes when it's just the two of us playing, he'll use a looper to play like a rhythm.
Yeah.
And he always says this to me, that it's really hard when you have the loop going, because you have to be like fucking on it. Otherwise everything sort of like gets out of whack.
Yeah.
And it didn't really dawn on me until I was playing with him and two other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be, to your point, the four of us could be on time with each other, but if a metronome was playing, we probably would be off.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, you want, to your point that you always talk about practicing, like it's a great thing to use when you're practicing, so you can play with others and adjust and, get the right feel so everyone is in time together. But that's the key, is about being in time together.
Yeah. Well,